Yes, hello, welcome to 100% Footy. Great to have your company. Just a bit to get through after the latest round of the competition that's coming at us thick and fast. Joining us on the far right there on the wing, the great Cameron Smith. Evening to you, Cameron.
G'day, Brace. How are we?
Very well. Good to see you as always, mate. Floating there in the ether. Hello, Paul Gallen.
Hey, Brace.
Mr. Michael Chemis.
Jamil.
Scuttle Central for you.
Plenty to come.
And working the phones in behind the cameras here. And what about the spring and the step with the guy on the end? The top dog, 6 from 6.
James Bracey, how you doing?
Very well. Not as good as you though, Gus.
You keep bringing that up.
I do.
Gus, you did say at the start of the year, by round 6, everyone's had a win, everyone's had a loss. You're undefeated.
Everyone's had 2 and the Dogs have had none.
You're undefeated.
So I was wrong.
I don't think I've ever heard that. There you go. First, well done. See, you are an investigative journalist, Gal. Well done. But Gus, on the back of what we started with already, what have you learned from the round that was?
What did I learn? Good Friday Rugby League at Accor Stadium, 65,305 fans. And honestly, all my life, I've always wanted rugby league to look like this, to fill big stadiums for big games.
Yep.
You know, big rivalries and such a magic afternoon for the game. You know, forget about who was playing. I will say, of the 65,000, there must have been 55,000 Bulldog fans there. I've never seen such a blue and white crowd in all my life. What an amazing supporter base. But I think it's got to be the future of the game. They've got to play their big marquee blockbuster games in big stadiums. You just can't have the big ones in little stadiums and have people missing out on that sort of atmosphere.
Something to behold, no doubt about that. For you, Gal?
Yeah, Nathan Cleary became the Panthers' greatest ever point scorer with 1,583 points, which got me thinking a little bit. The GOAT, who's right here, 2,786, Cameron Smith. How long would it take Cleary to catch the GOAT? Well, I've done a little bit of sums today. Cleary's averaged 171.7 points a season. Now, if he gets his average this year, he'd have to play for about another 6 seasons to get
He knocks him
Cameron.
off. He's
Mate, he's 27. He'd be 28 at the end of the year. So he'd have to play till he's about 33. Smithy played till he was 48. So
yeah. Oh, you can talk.
I know.
He'll get me easy, Gal.
He might get you, Smithy. He might get you.
Easily.
Yeah. I
Easily.
don't know about easy, mate. It's a tough competition, but he might get you.
If they keep winning the way they've been going, mate, he'll get me easy.
Yep, plenty of points to come for that man, no doubt about that. For you, Cameron, from the round that was?
Yes, well, I'm going to go back up to Brisbane, and it was the game I called the Storm v Dolphins, and the Microwave Man. Now, he's got a new nickname, the Microwave Man. Josh Kerr. Didn't he make a difference for the Finns? He come on, well, around 20 minutes, 25 minutes. He comes out and scores his try, and from there, they didn't look back, the Dolphins. He just turned the tides on what was looking like a possible shellacking by the Storm. Like, they got out to 16 points to 2 very early, and I was sitting in the commentary box thinking this could be 50, 60 points against, but what a game he had.
Certainly hit his 100th.
Unbelievable.
Where do we get the Microwave Man from? What's that?
Oh, so, come on,
Yeah,
you
Brace, can you do the backstory?
Yeah.
No, you do it, please.
It's a long drawn. It was very well done during commentary with those guys. We can get to that a little later. Michael, for you?
For me, it's Prime Minister Anthony Albanese. I know he's the mastermind behind the PNG bid, but maybe he might have a gig as a halves coach or something, the way he was passing over the weekend on Sunday Footy Show.
Swish.
Honestly, I've seen some footy players come on and do a worse job than this. So got a few votes on the weekend. Did he, Prime Minister Albanese?
Yeah, beat Rob Wishart.
Did he?
Told.
Yep. There you go.
And the Blue Wiggle?
There you go. I'd like to see Gus pass off, actually.
He's dead set 1.5 metres
Yeah,
from the hole.
He's not.
He's 1.5 metres away.
Smithy, we know who you're voting for.
A no ball and some. He's still refereeing, even post-career, without Kev Smith. Let's get into the big story of the week. Very soon, we'll be seeing how the Eels dismantled the Tigers in an entertaining Easter Monday clash in front of a big crowd at Combank Stadium, and it only made a forgettable week that little bit worse for West Tigers and their fans.
1 to 13, there's plenty of experience. An exception is the number 6.
What a moment for Lachlan Galvin. Congratulations.
You are now an NRL player, Lachlan Galvin. Sum it up in a few words.
It was a dream come true. I loved every moment of it. It was a great experience and hope there's many more to come.
Oh, the Tigers! They are on! One of the tries of the year!
Well, the Tigers fans, they'll be hoping they see that combination for the next 10, 12 years. Jareem Buller and Lachlan Galvin, the real future of the club.
One of the NRL's rising superstars will be on the move, with the West Tigers confirming Lachlan Galvin has chosen to leave.
The reason it was felt from Lachie Galvin and his camp that under Benji Marshall coaching, Lachlan Galvin would not reach his potential, and that's gone down very badly at the West Tigers.
There is another layer to this story. There is an issue between Isaac Moses, the manager, and Benji Marshall. There is a strong dislike between the pair, because it's a concern for the club because one of their best players is walking out the door.
This club has unearthed a rare talent.
Well, I've described Lachlan Galvin as the best young teenager I've seen in my time, and I stand by that. He is. He's extraordinary for his age. That doesn't mean he's worth $1 million a year now. He's got a long, long way to go.
When Lachlan Galvin arrived home, the teenager had no idea of the furore that would follow his decision to walk out on the Tigers. Captain Jerome Luai's team first social media post was followed up by a swipe from teammate Sania Taruba.
I find it quite disgusting what they're all doing on social media. It sort of says a lot about the club, I suppose. I don't think you'd see this at Melbourne or some of the bigger clubs.
What I hate is the narrative. It is disgusting. I find it really disrespectful the way they've tried to attack Benji.
To come out and criticise Benji's coaching is quite ridiculous.
He's been a pawn in all this, I have no doubt.
The fallout from Lachlan Galvin's decision to leave the West Tigers has turned bitter.
Benji has made him stand in front of the group and make him explaining why he wants to leave the club and got howled down.
It's pretty amazing, isn't it?
He's now at loggerheads with the playing group. I don't know for a young player how that's tenable at all. If this was devised by Lachlan or his parents or his manager, look what it's done. Look where it's placed him right now, with the fans, with the playing group and with the club.
Is it correct that the reason Lockie's leaving is because of your coaching?
I think so. Everyone thinks I can't coach anyway. So it's not that different to what's been said.
Your relationship with Lockie, it's been a bit in the spotlight. Can you talk us about your relationship with him?
It's been good up until this point. I just throwing support behind coach, behind what we stand for as a club. And at the end of the day, if you disrespect him, you're sort of disrespecting us as a team. So I don't stand for that.
At the end of 2026, when he goes, the club will move on, and so will he. So let's just chill with all the that's coming his way and just let him play footy.
We've just had news that Lachlan Galvin's management have reportedly sent a legal letter to the Tigers saying that he is being bullied and needs out right now.
He's the most talked about player in rugby league right now, and Lachlan Galvin was not playing first grade today, but reserve grade in a suburban park for Western Suburbs Magpies against the Eels.
Addo is away. He'll win the Stole gift. He'll win this match. Parramatta deserve every bit of the 2 competition points.
Just a snapshot there of the drama that unfolded in the space of 1 week surrounding a 19-year-old and the West Tigers Football Club. Michael Chemis, I know you were there today to see Lockie run out for the West Magpies. What did you learn? How did he react to the situation? So too the crowd that was there.
Yeah, look, to be honest with you, you wouldn't have known if there was any drama throughout the week. The crowd, they were supportive of Lachlan Galvin. Lachlan Galvin ran out with a smile on his face, but it's quite a different story to what's unfolded over the last week, as we've just seen. To be honest with you, you wouldn't have known. By a few, there were obviously some cameras out there and some journalists wanted to speak to Lachlan Galvin, which didn't happen. The West Tigers decided to keep him away from media, which you can understand given the week that he's had. But
it's a long way from Combank Stadium.
It is, and then on the events that unfolded sort of add some drama to the week that's about to unfold as well. What does Benji Marshall do next week? The Tigers didn't disgrace themselves today. They didn't get the result, though, against the Eels. And now the big question tomorrow, 4 o'clock, does Lachlan Galvin get named in the NRL team? Does he get named in New South Wales Cup? And what does the management do in the background? Do they keep agitating for a release? Well, they haven't asked for a release, but we know where it's going.
What about the relationship with the players? That's my biggest concern. I mean, obviously, not everyone likes the coach and the managers have issues, but if you lost your mates, if you've lost the playing group, that's an issue. Surely that can't be a situation you can walk back into.
Yeah, the situation's become untenable. As we saw last week with the players, they just don't trust him anymore, right? And I'm not saying it from a point of view where the manager should be rewarded for what he's done, because the manager's done a disservice to Lachlan Galvin over the last week. That kid's not going to recover from the reputational damage he's had, right? Whether it's in the game from fans, there are clubs out there who may have been interested in Lachlan Galvin who are now seeing red flags with what's unfolding in the background. He's done the kid a disservice. But at what point do you see it, say, as a club, this is not good for us to have this lingering around for another 12 to 18 months and just cut the cord and say, see you later, because we know where this is going. It's ugly as it is. Now there's a legal battle flowing on because there's a belief that he may have been bullied by the club, and what's happened over the last 7 or 8 days. So where does it end? It's only going to get ugly. I can tell you now. There's some other things in the background that is brewing. It is going to get really ugly. The Tigers, I completely respect. They don't want to be walked all over in this situation. They want to show that they're united. They're not going to let this thing happen to their club, and they're going to be pretty strong on that. But at what point is it to the detriment of the club? And that's what's going to happen over the next few days, those conversations, because the way it's been handled by everyone involved, it's been a disaster.
Cameron, I want to pose to you the same question that I posed to you last week when this was all breaking, unfolding about Lachlan Galvin and how he felt about the club, the coach, etc. Having seen what's unfolded over the last 7 days, what would you be doing if you were amongst that playing group?
Well, look, I'd be disappointed that one of my teammates has decided that he doesn't see his future at that club. There's no doubt about that, and I stand by what I said last week about if there's someone that didn't want to be at my club, then I think the best thing to do is to move on. I want people surrounding our environment, our training environment, that want to be there and want to make a difference. Now, when Lockie came out, he said, I love the fans, I love this playing group, I love the club. I just won't be here in 18 months. I'm committed to this club for the rest of the term of my contract. But I don't know what's going on at that footy club. Clearly, from the outside in, it doesn't look great. The social media posts from Jerome Luai, Sunia Taruva as well. I don't get that. That's something that it really confused me as leaders of the club. When I was at that Melbourne Storm footy club, and I think Freddie spoke about it in one of his shows, I think it brings unwanted attention to your footy team and your playing group, and it puts a lot of pressure on them. There's no doubt that they went out there and tried their best today, the West Tigers, but there's no doubt the spotlight was on them. It's unfortunate that the spotlight has been put on this football club the way it has, but they've all had some small hand in doing so. Now, what happens from here, I'm not too sure. I disagree with Michael that, for what's happened over the last, week with Lachlan Galvin, that, clubs will be a little bit off-put by that. Parramatta, the head coach of Parramatta, Jason Rolls, he's come out and said, as soon as he's available, I'd love to chat to him. Gus last week spoke about, he's the best young talent I've seen in my entire life. You can't tell me that Gus wouldn't be interested in sitting down with Lachlan and his family and talking about maybe the possibility of joining the Bulldogs. So there's two very big clubs in our competition, in Sydney, just down the road, that would love to have Lachlan Galvin's services.
I think the important thing that Smithy raised there was that when all this started, Lachlan Galvin said he's committed to the club for the next 18 months. It wasn't until the club come out and released that press statement, then obviously the senior players come and put that stuff on social media, that what hit the fan. So how much has he done wrong here as a kid?
Yeah, well, I'll ask you. Cam's probably not aware of the last 20 or so minutes that Gus has come out and spoken to Danny Wilder about where the Bulldogs sit with Lachlan Galvin. And we'll ask Gus the question as to why you've said that you won't pursue Lachlan Galvin. Is it purely because it doesn't work with you right now? Or is there more to this situation? Are you at all off-put by what's happened over the past week? Because you've spoken glowingly of Lachlan Galvin over the past 18 months.
Yeah, I thought I answered this last week. We're already on a program, right? We're not thinking about Lachlan Galvin. We've never at any stage been involved in any discussion regarding Lachlan Galvin, and we're not going to get into a discussion about Lachlan Galvin. He's not on our radar. We've got a different program going at the moment. That's not to say that in 5 or 6 years' time, when I think he'll be a really great player, that all clubs won't be interested in him at some time. But I think there are some real red flags around what's happened this week, which is it's going to be hard for him to outlive and outplay, to be honest. I don't know how a 19-year-old man, young boy, is coping with this sort of attention and this sort of untenable situation that he finds himself in. It's terrible for the game. I feel really sorry for the West Tigers fans who have had to put up with years of poor results. They've finally got a really good crop of young players coming through. They've gone out into the marketplace, and bought some quality players, and they've bitten the bullet on other contracts and removed them from the club. There is a real, upswing in their performances this year, and I'm saying, well, they can make the 8. Some of their early season form has been very, very promising, and they're only going to get better. And then all of a sudden, kaboom! No one saw this coming. Why did this happen? And I think right at the moment there is so much agenda-driven damage control, deflection, blaming, finger-pointing, going on, and everyone in the media trying to come up with a scoop, and everyone in Tigers trying to protect themselves, and everyone with the Galvin clan trying to look after themselves, that it's just untenable for everyone.
Gus, do you feel like Benji Marshall could end up being a casualty in amongst all this?
I don't know where it'll end. I really don't know where it'll end. I do know there are far bigger stories being touted behind the scenes, far bigger stories. And I agree with Michael. If it's not resolved amicably, if they can't mediate this to walk away from it, the both of them, and I said last week, I think the West Tigers and the Galvin clan have got to walk away from this and put some distance between this week and when this decision is made down the track. But unless they can mediate this in the short term straight away, it will get ugly. There is no risk in the world it's going to get ugly. Someone is going to spill the beans.
Michael, if Benji goes to the playing group tomorrow, if he goes to the leaders, what would they say if Benji says, I want him in the team this week?
Yeah, it'll be an interesting conversation, Cam, because the issue isn't the fact that he's leaving. It's the fact that the things that have come out in the background, some of the things that were brought up by Isaac Moses. I understand that you're in a difficult situation. You're managed by Isaac throughout your career. But the way that all played out with Isaac and the list of grievances that he went to, and I imagine the senior players have been made aware of this and starting to wonder if they can trust what Lachlan Galvin is going back and telling his manager. Because some of those, they believe, the senior players, are designed to make Benji the scapegoat to execute the release that he seeks. Now, he hasn't formally asked for a release, but the situation that's unfolded, unfortunately, the Tigers players, through defending Benji Marshall, have opened the door and given Isaac exactly what he needs to get Lockie out of the club, which is now in the form of a legal letter to execute and say that they've been bullied. Now, I'm not saying Lachlan Galvin hasn't been or has been, but it was clear from the moment this happened. And I know you said, Gus said that it was, where's this come from? This has been brewing away in the background for some time. For the last 6 to 8 weeks, tension about Lachlan Galvin with Benji, with Jerome. Where does he fit in? Is Jerome getting all the love? How does he feel about that? It's been going on for some time, which is why people were bemused as to why the Tigers made the offer when they did. Couldn't they have waited till maybe at the end of the year, try and repair that situation and maybe on the back of finals football? But the manager knew what he was doing. And I think when Shane Richardson set out the press release, basically having a crack at Lachlan Galvin, the manager executed the situation, used the situation to execute an outcome which we all think is going to happen, which is Lachlan Galvin will be released at some point because it's untenable. That's what he wanted.
The manager's explanation is that the club instigated this by wanting to make an offer, and he virtually said, don't waste your time. He said, I could string you out till November if I wanted. Get on with it because you might let a player go, you might miss out on a player that you could buy. Don't even make the offer. I don't even think the offer was made. I think the offer was made public as part of West Tigers, explaining why he's going, or that we tried our best. But the manager just said to the club, don't bother making the offer. He's not staying at the end of his contract. That's what he said.
Well, Gus, you would have had conversations in the last few years. I know you're saying you're not going to go after him, but no doubt yourself, Cameron, the brains trust at the club, would have had conversations around, do we go down this path, right?
No, we didn't.
Not even a single conversation about Lachlan Galvin?
Not a conversation. We weren't interested.
Do you think he's going to Parramatta? That was my next question. Do you think that something's already tied up?
I don't know where he's going.
Because there's strong mail over the last couple of weeks, or last week since this all unfolded.
Publicly, we've only heard Parramatta declare they're interested.
Would you do that if you had something done in the background?
What's that?
With Lachlan Galvin and Parramatta, do you think that their confidence in declaring their interest speaks to something?
I don't know why Parramatta have done that. I don't work for Parramatta, mate.
Yeah.
I don't work for Parramatta. But I do know that Manly distanced themselves from it, St George distanced themselves from it.
Well, the both of them are managed by Isaac
We've
Moses.
distanced ourselves from it.
Both coaches are.
Yeah, we've distanced ourselves from it. So I don't know where he's going to end up.
What did we learn from this result today, 38-22? The Fox had some fun on that left wing of his, Gus, but the Eels in the end coming away with a comprehensive and much-needed win.
Earlier in the year, everyone was dumping on Parramatta. What were my exact words? Bring back Mitchell Moses and things will look a hell of a lot different. What happened?
A bloke
that makes a huge difference.
What, 9 months?
You can't have a team lose its origin-class playmaking leader and expect to perform at the same level. And it just made a difference to every player on the field today.
I've got to be honest, I thought the Tigers could have won. They still could have won. The back end of the game, they got back to within, I think, 4 points. And they had a couple of attacking sets of 6 on the try line, but they just couldn't execute. To be fair, Jerome Luai, in those moments, probably didn't touch the ball as much as he should.
Prior to the game, the Tigers were favourites, right? And then when the game looked like being lost and they weren't favourites, they started playing well again. Yeah. And then when it got to the point where you thought, well, they were going to win it and they were favourites again, they blew it.
They did blow it, yeah.
So there's, they got some psychological
I thought Parramatta sort of while they were going good, they sort of forgot how to win also. They just had to get through their sets, kick long and chase. And they were trying to throw offloads in their own half.
If you had skin in the game, if you were a fan, a coach or whatever in that game and you actually supported one of those two teams, it was just a roller coaster of emotions all afternoon. If you had no skin in the game, it was brilliant Monday entertainment, Easter Monday. How good is this? If you were involved, I don't know, the coaches just would have thrown the game plan and said, I don't know what's going on out there. What the hell is this?
It was a great watch. Good watch too if you're Laurie Daly, Cam. Gives you, something to really think about with Origin a month or so away.
Yeah, well, a nice headache, isn't it, for Laurie? And you know, like the guys who spoke about the class of Mitch Moses, and he showed that last year when he got the opportunity to come in and play State of Origin. That there was just a booming kick of 40-20. You know, he's a guy with experience that gives confidence and composure to players around him. That's what he brings to footy sides, and you know they played like that in well, I guess parts today. I'm sure Jason Riles as coach would still like to see some improvement from them, but it's a good step. Like, you got to think about this. This team had Mitch Moses for the most part of the pre-season this year, preparing to have him in the halves, and then all of a sudden on the eve of the competition, he falls over with that injury. So it was good to see him back. Good to see Parramatta get a win, and yeah.
Good to see Smithy care so much about the Blues. Thanks, mate.
Gotta love it. Origin banter beginning right now. Stay with us after the break. Been looking forward to this guy coming on the show. Reid Mahoney. Yes, he sits down with us and the top dog to discuss all things Bulldog. They're flying high at the top of the ladder. Back with the man himself right after the break. Welcome back to 100% Footy, our star in the spotlight for this Monday night. Oh, what about this? The Doggies, they're 6 from 6. They're sitting pretty unbeaten at the top of the ladder. In fact, every other team in the competition has at least 2 losses to their name so far. It's put a smile on this man's face, and this one too, because he's been pivotal to it. Reid Mahoney, evening.
Good morning.
Great to have you here.
Thank you for coming.
Mate, you got the boss sitting down the end of the desk.
That's why he's got his shirt on.
Yeah, you're all
you
very well dressed, mate.
Yes.
Looking very good, very sharp. I tell you what, the support that the Bulldogs have, if it hadn't hit home just whereabouts you guys are sitting, quite literally on top of the ladder at the moment, but in the rugby league world, it had to have hit home on Friday afternoon. That crowd, as Gus pointed out at the top of the show, for an occasion like that, it's got to feel good when you're a player out there and winning.
Yeah, it's great, mate. I think even when we left the hotel in the afternoon, there was we were getting security guards to walk through to get to the stadium. So yeah, it's a great place to be at the moment.
These are great scenes. And does it lift the group knowing that it's since day dot, and this rebuild has been a big thing, a long time in the making, a few hard years, a lot of player turnover, but to now be able to reap the benefits of it, it must have everyone up and about.
It's been great. Obviously, we've had a couple of tough years, and my first year at the Dogs was a really hard one for the group, and you know, to see 65,000 on Friday and was outstanding. Great place to be.
Reid, after those tough couple of years, you seem to make a bit of a stance yourself, along with some other senior players, that you wouldn't take a backward step. Now, I'm not going to call it niggle necessarily. I actually don't mind it, mate. I think not taking a backward step's a great trait to have, but your emotions can sometimes fly pretty close to the edges. Cameron Serrato spoken to you about that at all?
Oh, we have conversations, mate. He does pull me aside and to fix things up, but you know, there was a game last year where I think it was round 1, and we're just sort of getting pushed around a bit, and we didn't deserve that, mate. And obviously this club's been through a lot the last 10 years, and it was time for us to draw a line in the sand and really go after it, and putting pressure on kickers and stuff like that. We'd just let people walk past it, and it was time for us to take a stance. And yeah, look, last year we did probably take it over top, and so did I, but it was for the better. And yeah, I'm working really hard to really just get back to playing really good footy at the moment.
He's one of the best nigglers in the game, Gal. He got me a few years ago, actually, didn't you, Reid?
Yeah,
down in Amy Park.
I
think it was a semi-final. Yeah. He got me in a semi-final. I got 10 in the bin for, it was hardly a slap. It would have only just broken the skin. But mate, talk to us about your defence this year, not just your own, but the club as well. You seem to be putting a huge emphasis on it. Going through some stats, like the last 4 games, I don't know if you're aware of this, the last 4 games that the Bulldogs have played, they've conceded 14 points. 14 points.
Crazy.
Just tell us about your mindset within the group at the moment around your defence.
Yeah, it's all mindset and just really going after it as a group, and not being afraid of going hard and missing, and just having each other's back. And obviously it's a very structural defensive system, and to be able do it for a long time, it's extremely hard, but it's what with pre-season's form, we've worked extremely hard, but yeah, it's just everything's working at the moment and everyone's working really hard for each other and we're really getting the benefits of it. And, you know, some of the things you don't see is, you know, people in the frame, you know, working really hard to make a try-saving tackle. And I think on the weekend we had, you know, 10 minutes on our try line, we were down to 12 men and the boys just scrambled, and just shows a lot about our group and how willing we're willing to work for each other.
How hands-on does this guy get down the end of the desk? Does he get out there and get amongst it at training at all?
Oh, he turns up. He needs to, I guess.
You got any hard-hitting questions for your trooper over here?
No, I want to go back a few years though, because Reid made a really big decision with his career. He was playing with the Parramatta Eels, who made a grand final and came to a team who was running last. I mean, that's a big decision for any footballer to do, and it's one we're deeply indebted to because, you know, he didn't have to do that, but he made a decision with his career to go from the highs at Parramatta to come and help out a really struggling club. What people don't know is that you're actually a Canterbury junior. You played in the junior rep system there, came through the player house. But the decision then, you know, was that difficult? And during that first year that was really tough, did you ever sort of regret, gee whiz, I don't know if I've done the right thing here?
Yeah, it was hard, Gus, you know. I still had 12 months to go at Para, and it's a hard one to sit down and tell your teammates that I've been there for 5 or 6 years that I'm moving on and I still got another 12 months to play. So I sort of just had to do what's best for me and the team and just play footy. But yeah, it was extremely tough to come to a club that was struggling. And you know, there was times during that year that I thought, you know, why did I do this? And you know, I just stuck strong to what I believed in and what my reason was behind it, and just really trusted in yourself and Cameron. So. You know, it was extremely tough that year, but there was them thoughts, and obviously if I sat here and said I didn't, but you know, obviously it's been a couple of years down the road and we're really doing well at the moment.
And when did you first get the feeling that things were turning, that you could see there was light at the end of the tunnel with this group?
Probably at the back end of the 23 season and going into a pre-season, it was all hands on deck. And you know, I felt the first pre-season was just Cameron's first year of sort of getting to know the group and players and things like that. But you know, the second year was he really turned the screws and sort of had the players there that he wanted. And you know, obviously off the back of last year, we went pretty well. But and then again, he turned the screws again in the pre-season to really see, and people really started to believe this year. And yeah, it's a really great place to be.
Reid, I spoke before about you controlling your emotions at times. Something that would be highly emotional is Origin. Now, obviously Harry Grant's gone down, maybe up for 5 or 6 weeks. You must be excited. Your name being mentioned at least?
Yeah, look, I obviously get your mates and that all sending it to you, but it's happened to me before, these sort of things, and I've been into camp a couple of times, and my best thing is just to play good footy for the Bulldogs, and when that time comes, then I'll worry about it then. But obviously it's every kid's dream to put on a jersey like that, and yeah, just got to keep going to my business with the Bulldogs, and the rest will happen.
You've been in that camp before, Reid, amongst the Origin side and the training squad. But have you spoke to Billy Slater at all this year, Queensland coach? Has he called you up and just said, mate, be ready?
No, mate, he hasn't. He haven't had any contact with him. But yeah, as I said, I'll just keep knuckling down at doggies and trying to put my best foot forward for them, and all those sort of things just happen for itself.
Dogs Junior. How are you a Queenslander?
Oh,
that's in Queensland.
Oh, here we go.
Gus just said he's a Dogs Junior.
Belmore's in Queensland.
Belmore's in Queensland. God, seriously.
Belmore's in Queensland.
You take everyone, seriously.
I love it. Get him started. It must be nice that when you hear someone like Cameron Munster coming out and saying that he'd be ready. He's the kind of player that we could use.
Yeah, I guess it's good to be able to hear that. Yep. Definitely, he's obviously a great player within our game, and you know, he's obviously playing really good footy himself. But yeah, to hear someone like that's yeah, pretty exciting.
What about going back onto the Bulldogs, pacing yourself with a season like this? You're off to Brisbane on Thursday, take on a Broncos side who, quite frankly, you don't know what you're going to get with those guys. But when they are at home and they're on, they can do anything. We're 7 rounds in to a 27-round season.
Yeah, they're a great side. You know, they have talent everywhere in their team. Obviously, they got a huge forward pack in Carrigan and Haas, and I know our boys will be up for. We definitely circled this one in the calendar, and you know, we've been getting thrown up. Are we a top 4 team? And I thought we showed that plenty of times this year. But yeah, really excited for this contest, and yeah, it should be a good one.
They know how to score points.
They do. They definitely do.
That's one thing they can do. Now, Vegas. Should it happen for the Bulldogs? Would you like to get over there?
Yeah, fucks them.
Has he been working on it?
I would love to go, mate. The boys are eager, but I have to get the big boss out here.
You'll be on a very short leash, Reid, when we get to Vegas. You'll be on a very short leash.
Don't go.
When we get to Vegas, does that mean when we get to Vegas? So you're going?
We're going to Vegas, baby. I don't care what they say.
You've just declared it. You're going.
We're going. By hook or by crook, we'll get there.
Looks like you're going, mate.
But I'm going to get the room next to Reid because that's the only room that's going to cause trouble.
Hey, tell me,
Not at all.
Give me a little insight into the Top Dog. I told you, man, get your hands on at training. But what about away from the training pitch as well? Because I know Joe Bell's Cafe is a bit of a go-to for a lot of the players, and I don't know whether you've spotted on social media. There's one video in particular that does the rounds of Gus swaggering in. It's, yo, bro, g'day, brah, with all the fellas as he comes in. Is it true that they all hang out there knowing when Gus is going to be there, so perhaps the Top Dog might shout them down?
I know they've all put their coffees on my tab. I know that. Put it on Gus's bill.
Yeah, I've definitely put a few coffees on Gus's tab.
No doubt.
He's got his little corner there at Joe Bell's, so it's nice to see him in there when the boys rock up.
Has your coach, Cameron Serrato, got a tab there?
Oh, mate, he wouldn't have a tab anywhere.
He's tight.
Mate, people give it to
tight.
me about money. Mate, believe me, I've got a story on him you wouldn't believe.
Really?
He is the king of tight. The king.
I want to turn off the training and put up with him, so I will keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, that's otherwise you're doing extra duties. Mate, great to have you in here, and we can't wait to be up there at Suncorp on Thursday night, which will be a belter against the Bronx.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Over here, Reid Mahoney joining us, our star on the spotlight here on 100% Footy. We're far from done, though. In just a moment, the good father, the goat, and Gal chiming in with a few things as well. Stay with us. We're right back after this.
I noticed when Reid said hello to you,
yes,
he said good morning.
He did say good morning.
I thought he was on the Today Show, didn't he? Because you're now running the Today Show.
Can we just not go there, thanks?
You're on tomorrow again, aren't you?
Just one little.
Are we going to lose you?
One. No,
are we going to lose you?
Carlos is going to be in that job for life.
We lost Danica.
I wish
we're
going
to lose you.
No, we're all still here.
Early morning TV.
It's a big 9 family.
Right up your alley.
We all look after each other. I'll stick to nighttime TV and sport at the moment. Thank you very much. Now, the good father and the goat. Time to get into some serious issues. Start the timer, please. 3 minutes per subject. The first one, the nightmare that was for Newcastle fans. Cam, I'm coming to you first on this one. Newcastle, they love a Sunday Arvo match. They pack out the stadium, even when their teams lost the week before. They did it again yesterday, 34-14. They go down to the Sharks, haven't won since round 2. What he's doing, are they kaput for season 2025?
Oh, look, I think so. It's not nice when you say a team's sort of gone already, particularly this early in the competition. But I'm not seeing anything from the Newcastle Knights at the moment to show me that they're going to be competitive in this competition, particularly against the top tier sides that are really going to be at the pointy end of the competition. So Sunday afternoon at Newcastle, it's one of the great venues to play at, especially if you're playing for the men in blue and red. Packed house, they love their footy side, they're vocal, they're passionate, but they really just didn't fire a shot. Now, since you mentioned that, Brace, that round 2 match against the Dolphins, I actually worked on that game. And to be fair, I almost feel like the Dolphins lost the game rather than Newcastle winning the game. They've conceded more than 20, they've conceded 20 or more points in every game that they've played since. So 1, they're not scoring points, and 2, they're conceding far too many. So there's a whole heap of things going wrong with that footy side at the moment.
Can you pinpoint one big glaring one in particular, Gus?
No, not one big glaring point. I think the thing for me with Newcastle, even over the last 18 months, is that they keep trying to solve their problems in the selection room. They keep chopping and changing their playmakers and their halves, and I don't think that's helpful at all. I think they need to settle on something, pick and stick, and just keep taking it out into combat every week and trying to perfect it. I think I've seen some real effort areas in their game at different times, but they're struggling in attack. Over the years, in all the years that I've known Newcastle in the competition, there was always something about the Newcastle Knights. They had a great skill factor. They used to run their plays really well, and they had football IQ. And right at the moment, I'm just not seeing this in this Newcastle team. There's a real lack of confidence, a real lack of belief in what they're doing, and they're struggling. I can't actually make out what it is they're trying to do when they've got the ball. And that's been their big Achilles heel. Each week as they've gone by, they've struggled to score points, and it's just eating away at their confidence.
They've scored 60 points. That's all they've scored.
In 6 games.
Yeah, it's 10 points a game, and the next closest is 117.
Well, they scored 20 odd of those in one game.
And even on the weekend, they scored the last 2 tries in the last 10 minutes versus Sharks. The Sharks will be dirty at that, but Kalen Ponga and Bradman Betts are attacking weapons. They just can't score points.
Moving on to topic number 2, it has been slim pickings for the Manly Seagulls the last 3 rounds, many pointing at the whole DCE dilemma. They came out, won a match and have lost 3 straight since. What do you make of it, and can you actually put it on to just that, Gus?
No, I don't think so. I think that's more a coincidence. I think it's no coincidence that Tom Trbojevic has been injured because they've always really struggled without him. And, yeah, they just haven't been able to get their game on. I couldn't believe what I was seeing the other night with the Manly Seagulls and just how many fundamental errors they made, with possession, unforced errors. It was really unlike them. In the end, they were beaten by a 90-metre intercept, a 90-metre try by Terrell Sloan, who picked up the ball and ran to the other end of the field. And as bad as Manly were, they could have nearly won that game. But no, it just hasn't been Manly at all the last 3 weeks or so. And people that want to point to the decision by Cherry Evans, I don't think that's it at all. I lean more towards Tom Trbojevic, and I think I heard somewhere that he's not far from a comeback, which will be good for them. But I think it's more to do with him and the cohesion of the team than anything else.
Will they still be playing finals footy, Cam?
Well, if Tom gets back, I agree with Gus. I think he's the key to this footy side. Notoriously, they haven't been that great without Tom. If you look at the numbers and the stats across the years where he's been injured, and we know he has missed a lot of football over the last 3 or 4 seasons through various injuries. It hasn't been the one. It's been hamstrings. It's been shoulders. I think he's done a pec before as well. But yeah, I was at this game. I was sitting on the sideline the other night, and a lot of these errors coming around the right-hand side of the field through some experienced players, like DCE had a couple in him. Ola Kawatu, he had one of the sort of more average nights of his career. He's a much better player than what he showed us the other night. I think, we spoke with Beaver Menzies at half-time, and he just said, look, when you start the game with a couple of errors like he did in the back row, all you should focus on is getting the ball early off your half and trying to run over the opposite player standing in front of you. So I think that they got it slightly wrong the other night. It just wasn't happening for them. We're talking about Tom Trbojevic not being there. I just want to give a rap, though, to Lehigh Hopewadi. I thought he was fantastic. He got Manly back in the game through a couple of really special efforts where he scored a try himself and set one up. He is a special talent. He won't be going anywhere anytime soon. But the quicker Tommy gets back, the better Manly will be.
I think they played 3 games in 11 days too. They did travel back from Perth on a 5-day turnaround. That wouldn't have been easy for them. But, look, no Turbo, no chance. I've always said that. They need him.
But if you look at the competition ladder, I think 5 teams have won 2 games, 5 teams have won 3 games, and 5 teams have won 4 games. I think the competition's sorted itself out yet. I don't think teams have sorted themselves out yet. I think we're going to see a lot more wild fluctuations over the next few weeks.
Well, that brings us to our next discussion point because, as it says there, the script has been flipped in some way because you have a look at last year's grand finalists and Gus over the weekend, just when we thought, many were ruling Penrith out for their premiership tilt yet again after losing 5 straight. They put 40 on the Roosters, but then the Storm get 40 put on them by the Dolphins.
Yeah, that was bizarre. Not so much bizarre with Panthers because I said last week there's still effort areas in their game and at their best they're going to win a lot of games in this competition and they proved that again the other night. They really, as that game wore on, they were a little bit nervous early, they were a little bit clunky early, but as the game wore on and they got back into their rhythm and they could see that they were just wearing the Roosters down and Roosters couldn't cope, they got more and more confident in their play. All of a sudden the passes started to stick and they were running in some points and it was the Panthers of old, or Panthers of what we've seen the last few years, despite the fact there's been a lot of changes to their team. The Storm one was interesting. Now, they've had a couple of games this year where they've run out to 40-point leads at half-time and then lost the second half. The other night I was watching the game and I sat there, I said, at 16-2, I thought to myself, if Dolphins score next, they're a chance. You could just feel it with the Melbourne Storm. They have that flashy period where they score 3 tries or 4 tries, and then all of a sudden it sort of just mellows. And if the other team is still willing and still able to stay in the fight, it gave them a chance, particularly the Dolphins, who've got a lot of attack in them. And Melbourne Storm had no answer to them. From sort of about the 20-minute mark until the end of the game, they had no answer to the Dolphins.
Cam, the Storm, what do you reckon the reaction from Bellyache will be?
Well, if you've seen him game night, Brace, and you and I were there, like he was bewildered by what was happening. I don't think he had answers either, and he said so as much in his press conference after the game. It was the first time he'd ever coached a Melbourne Storm side where they were out to a 16-2 lead and then went on to concede 40 points. Like they just, I don't know what went wrong with their second half. They just couldn't stop the momentum that the Dolphins built in that 40 minutes. Now, they did cop Jack Howarth went off with an injury. They lost another player, I believe, as well. But so did the Dolphins. Like Max Plath went off within the first 10 minutes with a foot injury. Felice Kafusi didn't finish the game. So the Dolphins were in the same situation. It's a bit of a trend that I'm seeing from the Storm this year. Gus mentioned it. Like you go back a week ago, they go out to, 36-0 at halftime, I think it was, against the Warriors, and then they lose the second half. It was a similar situation against Manly at Brookvale, the Battle of Brookie. They had an amazing first half of footy. I think Manly beat them on the scoreboard in the second half, but they got the win. So I don't know if it's a point of they try and blast teams off the park in the first 40 minutes and then try and coast home. Well, if you're going to try and do that, then you're going to get embarrassed like you did against the Dolphins more times than not.
Can you pick your grand finalists from this point, Gal?
No chance. I'm loving the competition. Everyone's beating everyone. It's a tipster's nightmare. It's killing us, but it's good competition. Every single game is interesting, and I agree with the boys too about the Melbourne Storm. Round one, they led by 46 points round one, and then they lost the second half there too. So a few concerns for Craig Bellamy. Obviously, when you talk about roster, they've probably got the best roster. Can they put it all together? Time will tell.
All right. Cameron, seeing you Friday, Suncorp Stadium.
I'll be there, Brace. Can't wait.
Bring it on, Broncos Bulldogs.
Dog Bronco.
Dog Bronco.
Who wins, Smithy?
It's Thursday night, isn't it?
Thursday. Anzac Day Friday.
Thursday.
Yeah, glad you're here.
Yeah.
Who wins?
Don't know where it's always early starts.
You're trying to get us to turn up a day late.
I hope it's Golden Point, Gal.
But who wins your Golden Point?
I'm going to say Dog because the Gould father's right there.
Good on you, Cameron. So that's Thursday night, Dog v Bronco. We'll get the tip from these two off it in just a moment. But, of course, Anzac Day, it is a bumper day of rugby league. No doubt the most important day in the Aussie calendar, and when it comes to this spectacle, Dragon v Rooster, there is nothing better. So make sure you do join us right here on 9, live and free from 3 for that special day from Allianz. And later that night, we're at Amy Park. Rabbit visits Storm. Both teams looking to make a statement. That's your Anzac Day footy, covered right here on 9's Wide Ball the Sports. Stay with us. Cam's out. Chem us in, Scuttlebutt Central, right after the break.
You got a scoop for us, Gus? A scoop? You know something. You're not
I might be wrong. Why lose a scoop?
I've got to lose it. Well, it can only be done at the Dogs then if you're dealing in facts.
Don't start me on this.
Scuttlebutt Central time.
I'm hearing this word used more and more around the traps. Everyone talks about scuttlebutt now.
Even outside of the rugby league world.
Everyone's talking scuttlebutt.
Yeah, well, there's always plenty of scuttlebutt around.
I think we should have a show called Scuttlebutt. Midweek show. What do you think?
Well, you've got your own segment at the moment.
Well, maybe we'll get Gus on board. We'll have a show called Scuttlebutt.
Maybe you could.
I'd love to be a part of that.
Can't include me in scuttlebutt.
Oh. You made the name.
I'm not in the scuttlebutt.
Oh, please. You make it more weeks than most.
I just said the media come up with scuttlebutt.
Hey, Mr. Scuttlebutt, this is brilliant. Okay, let's...
Anyway, it's a media segment. Here's the media guy.
It is. Here I go. So, speaking of the media, there's a media conference earlier tonight on the back of the Tigers' loss to the Parramatta Eels. So, Michael, before we get into all the scuttlebutt, we thought best to hear this. An exchange from the Nine Papers, Christian Nicolussi, talking to Api Coruscant, Benji Marshall post-match. Now, keeping in mind, you'll hear Richo reference to here. That's Shane Richardson, the CEO. He's the Tigers' boss. He's in the room as well. But have a listen to how this all unfolded after the Tigers' loss today.
Happy, how important is it you block out this Lachlan Galvin drama moving forward? And I take it Richard, it's a legitimate question. I just want to know, like I said, it's been a big storyline. Benji said itself, it's been a tough week. How is it you don't let it affect the boys this week going into next Sunday?
Get together. We're here to play footy. We just got to focus on that.
Will the playing group allow Lachie back in this week, Benji?
They've never let him out.
There's a couple of things to discuss out of that. The more you watch it, the more it's one. The people that are sitting in front of the microphone should be the only one that are really responding, shouldn't they, to any questions, Michael?
Yeah, I think that was it was interesting the way it unfolded. Even I think Benji Marshall and Api Coruscant were shocked when they heard Richardson intervene there. But this isn't going away. This is going to be an issue.
But that doesn't help either, does it?
No, it doesn't. And I think that sort of speaks to what we've been talking about over the last week, that the ego is at play in this situation, and Shane Richards is such a big personality, a powerful figure, and we saw there just how powerful he can be. He's sort of making his feelings be known in the press conference when someone asked the question about Lachlan Galvin. It's not going away, and if the Tigers think that it's just going to become something irrelevant, it's just not going to happen.
Why will they not just cut ties? Now, like, this is an untenable situation. I mean, this is no good for anyone. Why won't they just cut ties?
It may happen, Gal. Like, I think they may be playing hardball because they want to make sure they get something in return. They don't want to just let Lachlan Galvin, nor should they, walk away and get nothing in return.
The other part of it is precedent. That if they just allow that to happen and allow a manager to disrupt,
I understand what you're saying.
or a
Who else
situation
can
to
do
disrupt, who else can do it?
But there seems to be...
There's a Pandora's box being opened
That's what I'm saying.
on a couple of fronts.
There's a whole, in the background, there's a
The
whole lot of
legal
rumours
issue over
floating
the
around.
mental health and the bullying, and also the, whatever has happened here. There's a Pandora's box about to be opened here.
So what I'm saying,
and that's why it's going to get ugly.
For the club's point of view, wouldn't they be better off just cutting ties, letting it go, not opening that box?
Well, it does open the box, because then anyone can do it.
Well, the box is open. The box is open, Michael, so there's obviously the form, can we call it a complaint that was handed over the weekend from Lachlan Galvin's management to the club?
Yep.
And what's the crux of that, and are there more coming from other players?
Well, Danny Widler and myself reported tonight, and this is separate to the Lachlan Galvin issue, that there are two players, Brandon Tumeth and Justin Matamua, both of whom are in the top 30, the Tigers' top 30, who have spoken to the RLPA and raised issue with the way they've been treated by the club. Now, Matamua at the moment is playing Ron Massey Cup, which is effectively below New South Wales Cup, and Tumeth is actually playing Sydney Shield, which is even below that, which to have two of your top 30 players playing so low, which is unusual, and now these guys have raised concerns with the RLPA in regards to just how they've been treated. This is separate to the incidents involving Clemmer before and John Bateman before. They've gone to the RLPA. I have to point that Clemmer, Bateman and Tumeth are all managed by Isaac Moses, and now Galvin. So of those complaints, a lot of them are coming from Isaac Moses, but Justin Matamua is managed by another agent. So this is something the Tigers are going to have to now deal with. In the background of this Galvin situation are players talking about and having issue with the way that the club is running their business. And I know most people are going to think, these players are whinging because they're not in first grade, but that's something the RLPA are growingly becoming concerned with, a trend coming out of the West Tigers, and that's something Shane Richardson and Benji Marshall have to get.
Who's their issue with? The club, the club, is it an individual?
It's a good question, Gal. I think it's the club in general, the way they've been treated by the football department, and whether or not they should be in the mix and not sent down to Sydney Shield. I don't know if this is common practice, Gus. Does this happen regularly with players going that far down in the pecking order?
Yeah. It's a funny game, rugby.
He doesn't want to open Pandora's box.
It's getting funnier by the minute.
It feels like there's when we talk about how this is just going to keep on coming, that it's player, manager v coach here. I mean, you can't look at it really any.
It is.
When you look at there's a trend there, clearly.
Yeah, it is, and that Benji versus Isaac and the issue there, and I think that there's going to be a point where this is the point of no return. And as Gus alluded to, and we're hearing in the background, Isaac's not going to stop here because it is clear he wants his client out.
A couple of quick ones. We spoke earlier to Reed about the Dogs going to Vegas, which seems that we're expecting, the way the top dog's talking, that's happening.
He's already booked the penthouse.
Right, done.
Well, I'm going if they're not.
The news is?
Yeah, well, this is my understanding. Obviously, Dragons and Dogs will play against each other next year. The Knights, from my mail, are going. The Cowboys, they're the front runners. The NRL want to send a Queensland team to play against the Knights. They're looking at the Dolphins and Cowboys. But my mail is it's Knights v Cowboys, Brace. So
yeah,
it's going to
pretty
be
much by then most of the teams have been. There'll be a few that haven't. But my other mail is that by 2027, teams are going to start doubling up. So teams that have gone have already said they want to put their hand up and go again.
Yeah. Well, I think the Roosters applied to go this time.
There's plenty of interest in getting over there and being a part of it.
Beautiful. Dog v Dragon, that'll go off. Cowboy v Knight. The penthouse, can I come?
Well, Scuttlebutt's just ground out to a halt.
Well, I've got one more piece of information.
Oh, yeah, go on. Where you go?
No, I've got no time for it.
Okay. Well, you piece, fella. I can't
take it on smh.com.au. Stay with us after the break. Our tab top three. Flick passes. Benji, he's owning tonight's show. More on some great flick passes from the round that was in just a moment. Alrighty, tab top three time. Flick passes from the Easter long weekend of footy, and Mark Nwanganita-Wase, who's slotting into rugby league just fine. Nice ball to set that one up, Gal.
Very nice. He's a good player, isn't he? For a bloke who's only just started his career in the game. He's a big body, very powerful, good runner. He gets caught out defensively a couple of times, but he's only going to get better, that's for sure.
He had a few offloads in this game. He was the first 3 or 4 times he got the ball, he offloaded. Round the corner, over the top, back inside.
Daniel Tupou was seen so often scoring in the corner, and for the Panthers, Scotty Too Hotty. Scott Sorensen, stop it.
Scotty Too Hotty, the best looking man in rugby league, honestly.
Crikey.
Still lives in the Shire too, still down there.
Look at that.
Look at that, that's beautiful.
They got into a real rhythm the other night, the Panthers, didn't they? Like the second half, you could just feel the confidence coming back to them.
You know,
Brought on by this fella. This fella was so important. You know, he's been missing a few weeks, but he made a big difference, Dylan Edwards.
I agree. They just played their game, Gus. The long game they play, they just complete their sets and wear you down and come good from the back end of the game.
Can't beat this, though.
Boom. Cody Nicker, he's been playing very. I know a lot of raps get given to the other halfback. He's a fantastic young player, young Katoa, but
that second half was off its head. Up there.
He's going very good, Cody Nicker. He's playing really good for them.
So's Ray Stone.
Ray Stone.
He had a double.
He's an absolute madman, isn't he, Ray Stone?
Ray should have played in the 80s.
It looks like
he'd have got on very well with our group. Very well.
That's brilliant. Doubles for him the other night. Stay with us.
There's a few flick passes.
We're going to wrap things up, Benji style. We're going to wrap things up in just a moment here. Look ahead to a massive Anzac round in the National Rugby League. Back after this. All right, time to pick some winners coming up this weekend. Our Anzac round of footy. Gal, from the top, please. Thursday night, Bronco Bulldog.
Bronco, Dragon, Storm, Sharky.
All right, I'm going to ask you too, Michael. Come on.
I'm going Doggy, Dragon, Storm, Tiger.
Gus.
Dragons, sorry, Roosters. Well, Anzac Day's my favourite day of the year, but Dragon's going to win this year. Storm and Shark.
And of course, you didn't say dog because you're expecting a win. Great to have Reed here tonight. Thank you, Gal.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Good scuttle. Thanks, Gus.
Thank you, James.
I'll wake up with today. Bye-bye.